Crafty friends, it's Jess and I am here for Mint Owl Studio featuring the brand new April release. I'm featuring the Class Act stamp set in this first card, and it includes a lot of great teacher sentiments, and teaching is my day job, so of course I think this is an awesome set. And I wanted to keep it simple and create a card that I could give to another teacher. I wanted something really clean and simple and graphic, and I thought it'd be fun to have a little circle of pencils going around the card. However, I find stamping around a circle to be quite difficult, actually. You think, oh, you just trace a circle and keep stamping along the edge, but getting everything evenly spaced is pretty tricky. So what I found the easiest thing to do was to cut a square and then stamp the image in each of the four corners first, and then you could stamp in between, and so it gives you something to sort of ground your circle. And in this case, because there are the pencil points, it was really easy to just sort of point the point of the pencil to the corner of the card. And being clear stamps, again, that makes it a lot easier. You don't have to worry about stamp positioning, stamping it down, and then getting it over. But if you were a little bit concerned or felt like that wasn't enough to just sort of use the four corners, you could use a stamp positioning tool, and then you'd be able to lay the stamp exactly where you want it. So so the Inkadinkado stamping positioning tool, I believe that's who makes it, or a Misty tool might work effectively for this technique as well. But I just wanted to show like the simplest way to do it. And I am stamping all of these pencils down in the My Favorite Things Black Licorice Hybrid ink, because I will be doing some Copic coloring. I really wanted it to have a still clean and graphic feel at the end, so I knew I wasn't going to be adding a lot of embellishment, and I wanted to focus in on my Copic coloring and try to make sure that I gave a lot of depth to the coloring. So I'm only using two colors in each instance because these images are a little bit small, and so I took out my hex chart to start with to make sure that I got the colors that I like. I definitely recommend whatever markers you have to do color swatching, so that before you lay the markers to the paper, you have an idea of what color is going to come out. I am finding that the best way to add depth to the pencils is to give them the effect of being rounded. I've talked about this a couple of times, and the easiest way to make an object appear round is to make it be darker on the sides. So that kind of looks like the light is falling away from it, creates a highlight down the center, and again gives that effect. So what I decided to do was lay down the light color all over the base of a particular pencil, and then add a little bit of the darker color, then blend it out. I found though that this didn't give me enough depth, and so I thought, well, how could I add a third color to this situation without always having to have a third color on hand? And I remember a good tip is always to use some of the gray markers, because that can give you a slightly darker look to a color without adding having to have a third color in that color family. So if you only have two colors, it's a way to stretch your markers. So basically, instead of adding a third darker teal or blue-green color in this instance, I took a C marker, and I took one of the lower ones. I did a C3. I think I probably would have preferred a C1. C3 was a little too dark, but it's up to you. And I did the same thing with the orange, except for I used a W marker. The reason that I did that was because for a C, you'd want to use cool colors with the C markers, and then the warm colors you'd want to use the W, so that way you're not changing the tone of the colors too much. So again, I'm using a W3 there. I think that's probably a little bit too much. Maybe getting a W1 and a C1 would be enough to stretch your colors. And I'm going to hold it a little bit closer to the camera so that you can get an idea of how that added to the color without adding a third color. And hopefully this gives you some tips for stretching your markers and making a clean and simple card with these fun stamps from Mint Owl Studio. It is that time of year where you should start thinking about some thank you cards, thank the teachers for the hard work that they do each day. And that is it for my card today. Please check out Mint Owl Studio in the video description below, and links to the social media as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.